Kia ora koutou katoa. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Aroha, aroha, aroha nui kia koutou. I'm going to call you all into your imaginations to come on a journey with me from the great Mother Ocean, the primordial waters of our origins, and to journey as a collective memory, each one of you a water carrier, each one of you a memory carrier, ancient to this. We seem to have forgotten that we are water beings. We seem to have forgotten that every single living thing on this planet is a creative expression of water, that we are a creative expression of water. And in the mind of the artist, and that is where we go to lift our waters. To lift our waters, for our most powerful voice is the creative expression of these waters that we are the carrier of. That deepest emotional intelligence beyond our thinking. For my work, it is not by thinking so much that my heart has come to divine these waters for my hands to work out through the clay a voice to sing where my soul may fly. And so I call you from Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, the great ocean. I call you into the waters of Te Kapakapa Moana, Hauraki Gulf. I call you to the flowing waters where they outflow from the Waiho. Such a terrible beauty, a river that at source is 100% pure, startling. 6% pure when it reaches the ocean, 94% unwell. But in the face of adversity, we must paddle on, and we paddle up to the confluence of the Ohinamuri River, our river in Hauraki, Paeroa, where the children chant to their mountain, Karanga hapi te maunga Ohinamuri te awa Hauraki te turanga waiwai. That's our place to stand. So I call you up there to the confluence of Ohinamuri. And I call you winding past our small community, and I call you winding past the college that I'm workshopping at the moment, 300 young people in identity and belonging, and I call you further towards the skirts of our maunga karangahapi to a little wee stream called Tarariki. Tarariki has an old story. For our river Ohinamuri in the early 1900s, it was a designated sludge canal. All human waste, all industrial waste, cyanide, tailings, everything was poured down that river to sluice it off the edge of the earth, apparently. It was where the stories are told that the fish, they would swim with their heads out of the water because of the deoxygenation from the cyanide and the silt. And so I call you up into this little glade, a small, intimate space where my home is, a small glade of a regeneration zone, a small glade that was once a farm, a small glade that has held the seeds of the elders of our area and has now begun to come back again, a new generation, like our children, a new generation of older seed. This land rebirthing itself. And I want to share with you, I want you to come into the story with me. I want you to be me. When I came to this place 45 years ago, I fell so deeply in love. I fell so deeply in love with these waters, the waters of Tarariki. These waters that flow down from the conservation estate, but even more than that, from an ecological corridor, a continuum of ecology and flora and fauna that connects the Kaimai Mamaku with the Coromandel Forest Park, an ecology that I came to know intimately. I came to know it more intimately when my daughter was born, for these are her birth waters, and I am her father. And I've been in a lot of tribunal hearings over the past 45 years, and the thing that hit me most was nobody was listening. Nobody was listening when we were being heard in regards to the water or the land or the ecologies or the landscape of our mountains. Nobody seemed to truly be listening in their bodies of knowledge. I fell deeper and deeper in love, as you would imagine that at the headwaters of this stream, Tarariki, the last kokako existed in Hauraki. They held a different dialect from every other bird song, and I would challenge all of you to have been there, because you would be turned into water if you heard them sing. And at the source of this water, Hochstetterei and Archeite, the two most ancient endemic frogs. How incredible is that? Looking after the source is the kaitiaki of the springs and the aquifers. To have fallen in love with that, and then to swim down into this pool. If I could all gather you there and you'd come there tonight with me, I would swim you down deep, and we would touch the stones and we would see lights turn on. And those lights are a little limpet called Latia neratoides. And when you touch it, it exudes a phosphorescent light. It's an ecological indicator. But even bigger than that, it carries a geological indicator, because that little wee limpet connects us in our area to Chile, where you'll find the same ecologies, and you'll find that limpet when the land moved. It just gets me. If you can imagine, I'm talking to a judge. Your Honour, it's unbelievable that this little wee creature has waited around for billions of years that we might swim down in the darkness and touch and turn the light on, that we just might remember. I mean, billions of years been hanging out for us to remember. You know, we're water beings, and we seem to have forgotten. It's a tragedy, really. However, she's a benevolent, amazing earth, isn't she? Well, you know, when the piece of paper comes in the mail and you've just spent the past 10 years researching with your community alongside tangata whenua, you're held accountable by your children, and the piece of paper comes in the mail that says, we have given consent to prospect and to mine the corridor. We've given consent to prospect and mine the headwaters. We've given consent to mine your mountains around you. It's a tragedy for me, you see, as a father, that, oh yes, I know what goes on in development, but the reality is what we pass on to our children, and our mountain pukewa has gone. There's a hole in the ground now, and our children inherit, what do they inherit, 40 million cubic metres of waste? And the land moves. And Whakamoeho, we have 4 million cubic metres of waste sitting precariously on the edge of the mountain. And now Karangahape is threatened, our mountain. And I find it so difficult to talk to our children about this. I'm sorry, we'll do our best. And so if you can imagine, when that piece of paper came in the mail and said, we have given consent, I tell you, I went in two dimensions. I went so high and so low. I was so angry I could have killed. I could have killed someone. I was so angry at the ignorance and arrogance of our world to assume authority over the land in this way, and the ecologies, remnant ecologies. I couldn't believe that this could happen in this day and age. However, this was in the 90s, you know? And so at the same time, well, our parents did go, my parents did go to war and kill for the love of the land and kill for peace and kill in the name of God. Goodness gracious, you know, that has happened in the past. And I'm not making judgment, but I am saying there's another way. So I swam down. I went down into what my old people, Irish, call the sacral depression, the sacred space of the black waters where Latia neratoides lies. I went down and down and down. The last I remembered was gone. I didn't want to be here anymore. The first vision was a shaking. Some of you might know Dr. Stella Penny. She was our first woman conservator, a stellar being of water ecology. And Stella was holding me, and she was shaking me with my wife and my daughter's eyes, finding her father in the bush like this. And Elder, Auntie Nancy and Auntie Velmai, they were shaking me, and Stella, in her staunchest of voices, she said, Mike, you're no good to us like this. For God's sakes, show us where you've gone, man. You're no good to us. And she yelled at me, and they shook me. She said, why don't you work it out in the clay? Well, I'd never thought about that. I was a teapot maker, for goodness sakes. I was a teacup maker. I was a bowl maker. I'm a tradesman, you know? Work it out in the clay. Well, somehow she got inside me, but it was my wife, Min, who has passed away, along with Stella. She got right into my eyes and she said, please. So I went there, and these hands, they began to shape the clay. Slowly, my hands, they began to work it out. I have never considered to use clay as a pure language, to speak from another dimension. And slowly, my hands, they work, because we don't listen anymore to the song. We don't listen to the song of the birds and what they are saying, and this has been my whole world. They don't listen to the way of the water, and slowly, I coiled the clay as a mantra of prayer and thanksgiving, and I have to say, anger and sadness overwhelming me, and slowly I coiled a voice listening to water. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I was feeling, and these hands were so practiced making teapots that I brought it into shape. 25 years ago, they've been walking all over this land. The first walk was here in the Aotearoa Centre, welcomed by Ngāti Whātua. And just as I was finishing the top knot, if you can imagine, of course it was up here, they've shrunk. And I was finishing the top knot, and I heard a movement, and I turned, and this Māori kuia that was there in my workshop, Auntie Tiro Hirawani, and she came to see me. I'd never seen her before, and she walked into my workshop, and she said, Mike, I've come to tell you that the world you're listening to is real. I've come to tell you that you must keep working, because my mountain, Te Aroha, has been talking of these taonga coming. God, can you imagine how I felt? I was so relieved. Do you know that word? Relieved? Relief? This is relief. This is the expression through the clay of the relief of my waters, my deepest memory. And she said to me, you have to keep working. You have to keep working and delivering, because there are more inside of you. She said, look at you, you are hapu, you are pregnant with feeling. Not dissimilar to how we all are on this earth at the moment. We're all hapu, we're all pregnant with feeling. Our waters, we know they need to sing. We know we need to sing in collaboration, in harmony, empathic accordance. And my hand, they just kept working. Yeah, I was birthing these things. I'd never seen them before. I was in another world, and to have the confidence of that old kuia holding me was incredible. I just fell apart. We both fell apart, and our waters went into waikorero, water talking. Because we've stopped listening to the land. We've stopped listening to the waters. We've stopped listening to the sky where our ancestors listened. We used to listen to the sun and the moon and the stars. We used to know those realms so intimately. But we've just stopped listening. And so they've journeyed for 25 years. Auntie Tiro, she said, shape your tongue for the ear holes listening. Go with them, you're the clay worker. This is not about you, Mike. This is about us. And she came and saw me one day, and she said, you're the perfect shape for this job, Michael. You're a white man. She said, you're blamed for being white and you're blamed for being a man. Who better to swim back down into that ancient water that your tupuna knew? So, oh well. What a beautiful thing to have said to you, you know. We are all ancient. How much time have I got? Great. Well, you can rely on our kuia. They're just incredible, you know. I'm just so grateful. Oh, by the way, this whole story has been taken back to my old people. That was Auntie Tiro's next instruction. Now that you've taken it around to Aotearoa, for goodness sakes, take it back to your old people. And it was fantastic because Peter Quinn photographed all of these pieces from National Geographic. So I had images, and when I took it back to my old people in Ireland, wow, did we have a huli. I mean, it was incredible. Old Paddy Heavey and old Kaumatua back in Ireland, he says, oh, Jesus, there isn't a word of a lie amongst it all. That's the Irish saying, it's absolutely true, this. And Daddy said, where the feck have you come from? And I said, well, we've been practicing on the other side of the world, haven't we? You know, just so we'd get the balance of this thing together, this sacred Mother Earth. So, what Auntie Tiro said, we want you. When I came home, she came and got me again, along with Auntie Nancy and Val Mai, and an amazing kuia from the north. By this time, I was adopted by about, oh God, I forget how many kuia. Anyhow, they just seem to come and grab you, you know, and put a blanket around you and give you a stick to walk with in confidence. And anyhow, Wikatoria Rangitaki no Roka Harris, ki Waitaha Nui, she saw what I was carrying. I was a water carrier. I was a memory carrier. We all are. That instrument I played, that's you. That's a clay vessel carrying water with the breath of life and a song. Isn't that amazing? Harmonic accordance. I mean, so Auntie Turu came and saw me and she said, right, Koro, you've got to go back there. I said, what? Anyhow, then all the kuia came together and they said, we want you to go back into that little molecule of water and find a way that out there, that world out there, they can see how we, indigenously, how the children, how the creative mind sees a molecule of water. So you've got to imagine this, because they sent me on a huge journey. I'm not going to go there. It's too huge. But I assure you, they had the confidence to guide me and to send me listening to water. How was that? You know, if somebody says to you, could you go out there and listen to water for a while? Well, I went there. I went to Waitangi. I went to Waiora. I went to Waimaori. You know, I went to all of those realms, of Waitaha Nui. I went to all those realms and just listened to streams because they had faith in me. That's how elders are. They can see right through you, can't they? You know, they touch you. You see, and then I walked, after consulting with Tarariki, I walked into a water rights hearing, and we were challenging Environment Waikato Authority of Water. And I kind of loved that because I wanted to challenge them. Environment, I wanted to challenge them on that. I wanted to challenge them on Waikato because that's my birth river. I wanted to challenge them on the authority of water. What gives you the authority? How can you assume authority over this water if you haven't listened, Your Honour? Jesus, you know, this is wrong. Who are we to speak on behalf of anyone if we haven't listened to them? If we haven't listened to the trees and the mountains and the way of things, then who are we to creatively express our feelings with this? Well, I went there. And I came straight out of the bush with, I tell you, this real easel. I'm glad I was able to bring it in here. And you are the judge. No, you are, Your Honour. Your Honour, you see, we don't see water like this. We don't just see water as H2O, you know? We see water as something else. You see, water's made up of three things: hydrogen, oxygen, and something else, Your Honour. And I'm going to show you the something else, just what it looks like. This was the first time a work of art was accepted in a tribunal hearing. It was amazing. And do you know why it went so well? Because I didn't bloody think about it. God, if I thought about it, I would have really stuffed it, you know? But I had never seen this. I had dreamed it in the forest, in the headwaters of Tarariki, and I'd gone into consultation. With the world of the frogs and the birds and the trees. You see, Your Honour, when the water evapotranspirates, when it vortexes up into the heavens, it is greeted by particulates of stardust carrying molecules attached of water, as though Ranganui is seeding back into our water cycle. And then the waters, they congregate, all of it, like in this room, molecules of water. We've got a great storm going on here, you know? And the molecules, they congregate with megatons and megatons of energy. We all know thunder and lightning. We all know cyclonic and anticyclonic. And then when the rains come to our mountains in Hauraki, when the rains arrive, they let go with such relief. You know that feeling when you have a mimi and you just, that's so good to let go of those waters. Well, nature's like that. We're the personification of this incredible world. And the waters, they begin to fall. They vortex back down onto the earth. It's called, geographically, relief rainfall, you know, and they vortex back down, and then they begin to splash on the ecologies. They begin to splash on the Niko, on the Tōtara, on the Kauri, and they pick up the rongo, the medicine of the plants. They pick up the memory of the song of the birds, and they come down through the ecologies, down into the humus layer. Oh, the humus layer is incredible, but we're not going to go there. That's about 5 hours. But anyhow, then they begin to steep down through the Hauraki clays, down through the deep mineralizations. You see, and this is why we're world famous in Paeroa, because of our mineral water. The waters are defined by the minerals. Mana whenua, mana wai, the mana of the land defines the mana of the waters. Tragically, I'm sorry folks, there's no Paeroa in that drink anymore. It's a tragedy. This man here needs to sort that stuff out, not me. Anyhow, deeper and deeper down it goes into the mineralized clays. And oh God, I know clay. I assure you I know clay. I could workshop you for a day and a half on clay, but I won't. I'd have you covered in it. But anyhow, and then it goes down deeper and deeper and deeper, and it becomes a part of the geothermal aquifers, and deep within the gut, deep within the belly of Papatuanuku, and there she holds crystalline waters attached to that mineralization. It's incredible, the water cycle. It's as though Paparangi are constantly reminding the molecule of water of the memory. And then, of course, Your Honour, it's amazing because those aquifers, and let's not forget, folk, here's a plug for the conservation estate. The conservation estate is critical to us in Aotearoa. It defines and determines the quality of our waters. It is the korowai. It is the korowai that protects the aquifers underneath and brings these mineral healing waters down the streams, down the rivers to Te Kapakapa Moana. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that remnant ecology is critical. Flora and fauna, yeah, but in the mechanisms of water. And I tell you that as the water begins to spring, as it begins to spring and as it begins to flow, it begins to vortex. And that's how we see the memory of a molecule of water, through a creative mind, through the indigenous mind, through the memory of a child. And I assure you, when this happened in the tribunal hearing, oh God, I wish you were there. Uncle Tiwi started doing karakia. Auntie Nancy was doing a karanga. Frankie Waitai was doing a haka. And they all realised, oh God, Mick's naked. He's come straight out of the bush. He's still there, isn't he? And Uncle Tiwi knew that. And so beautiful was it that they insisted, the elders insisted, we take the whole thing back onto the marae, and core gold and Cyprus Gold had to go through the whole process with us to listen. This is how we see a molecule of water. And you see that? That's you. That's the embryo. That's the embryonic form. At the point of conception, we are androgynous beings. We're absolutely in balance with this matriarchal and patriarchal vortex of energy. At the point of conception, we're absolutely at one with the centre of Mother Earth and the centre of Father Sky. And there's one place you can hold that. It's deep in your heart, in that primordial seed, the centre of our old mind, and to remember that we are all water carriers, and what happens to these waters happens to those waters out there. And what happens to those waters out there happens to these waters in here. In all we do, and in all we have done to this sacred earth, and all we continue to do to this sacred earth. Every single morning she sings us awake, and every single night she sings us back into the dream. What compassion is that? What compassion is that when a storm comes in and smashes these kaitiaki to pieces? You understand wairua then. You really understand wairua as a creative, destructive process. And it came in on the wing of a prayer that I gave to the Department of Conservation, a challenge to put them back together again. And this is the mind of a creative person who lives in that other world and does his best as a father, grandfather to children to bring the empathy of a moment like this to your waters that they may tap. So my challenge to you is ko wai koe, in the words of this land. Who are you? What is your memory? What is your ancestral memory held in your waters? What are the waters that are talking right now? Tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ngā mihi, ngā mihi, ngā mihi nui. Ngā mihi aroha, aroha nui ki a koutou. Kia ora.